Shalom. Isn't that a marvelously multivalent word? It means hello. It means goodbye. It means peace. It means wholeness and integrity. It means calm and serenity. Shalom. One word that conveys so much. And in many languages, we have single words that are like dynamite. They just explode with meanings. But words, of course, are just the basic building blocks of communication. We put words together to form sentences, and sometimes a word is sufficient, but sentences are often necessary. And in the juxtaposition of this week's Torah portion with last week's Torah portion, we see the complementary, the essentially complementary relationship between words and sentences. Last week we read the Ten Commandments, and even though we call them commandments in English, they are not commandments. Well, they are, but the Torah refers to them as utterances, aseret hadvarim, the 10 words. We know the word for commandment, it's mitzvah, mitzvot, but they're not the 10 mitzvot. They're the aseret hadivarim, the 10 words, and they are simple and succinct. Lo tirtzach, lo tignov, don't murder, don't steal. They are utterances, guiding principles. But in this week's parashat Mishpatim, which begins ve'ele hamishpatim, and that and is important, and these are the rules, mishpatim, but mishpat in modern Hebrew means a sentence. The rulings, the judicial rulings that make up this week's Torah portion are sentences. Last week was dvarim, this week are mishpatim. And that little conjunctive vav at the beginning, ve'ele, and these are, the rabbis underlined the v, and they said that means that just as one was given at Sinai, the words, the succinct utterances of the Ten Commandments, so too the expanded sentences and rules in this week's portion derive from the same divine source at Sinai. And I mentioned these two portions together in tandem because I think that is ultimately the dilemma of how to go through life being an effective communicator. Sometimes it's not only sufficient but necessary to use simple language, one word or two, that pack a punch, a wallop, that says a word that can say it all, just like shalom. But often we need more than that. Sometimes you need to explain your ideas at length and in depth. And the difficulty is to know when to be concise and when to be more expansive. That's the challenge of a great communicator. And we go through this dilemma every single day, multiple times a day, when to keep your mouth shut and just say a few words. Brevity is not only the soul of wit, it's sometimes the most judicious course to take. And by the way, the word mishpatim, sentences, at root of that word is the verb shafat, to judge. A wise communicator uses sentences in a judicious way, putting thoughts together very carefully. This weekend, many Americans will be focused on expressing their love for important people in their lives by sending cards with words and sentences, by offering verbal communication. And sometimes it's enough and it's best to simply say an utterance, I love you. Nothing can be more powerful than that. But if you say it just over and over again, as though it were a cliche, then it isn't enough. Then you need some additional sentences, some mishpatim, to help explain what you mean by that opening utterance of I love you. So as we approach this Shabbat, as we approach this weekend, let's look deep into our hearts and let's use our minds carefully and our mouths to express the way we really feel in word and in sentences. Shabbat Shalom.